And we're back with the show. It is the Pop Culture Cosmos.
He did it again.
This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. I'm here along with my good friend, Mr. Rob McCallum. And I'll tell you what, it is time again. We're going to discuss the latest pop talk and the latest pop culture items that are out there. And in fact, he is going to take center stage. Remember, this is Rob McCallum of Rob McCallum Films. Check out robmccallumfilms.com. And also as well, he is the project director of Tiny Titan Studios. They have an awesome game, Tiny Rails, which you can get on early access today, $9.99 on Steam, and also available free to play on mobile.
It's a true story. Thanks for having me. Glad I'm here again. It's almost becoming a regular thing.
It is, and it's great to have you back indeed. But you wanted to go ahead and just talk over some of the great issues that are out there. There's some really, you were kind of worried that there might not be enough news from our back-to-back episodes that we had, but sure enough, a lot of new and interesting features and stories have come about, and I'll hand it over to you as a, I guess, a more experienced host than I in regards to handling all these great pop culture issues, and I'll try to do my best to keep up with you as well.
All right. Well, last time you enjoyed yourself so much being on the opposite ends of the cosmic roundtable, so to speak. So I thought I'd come back with a little more of the news observations, what's going on in the realm of pop culture and everything that makes our world go tickety boom. So we're back with another pop culture Cosmos news roundup. And to start things off, we can't get bigger than this. Just fresh in, hot off the presses. Kathleen Kennedy has done another Magic 8-Ball shakeup in the Star Wars universe. If you caught it because you were paying attention to anything in the news, you have probably heard that Colin Trevorrow is out for director and likely writer of Star Wars Episode 9 now. Now, I say likely writer because I don't know what kind of credit will be attributed to him depending on where the final script lies. That's a whole Screen Actors Guild or Screenwriters Guild kind of like decision process depending on who's contributed what. There was already a writing partner brought on early July from what I understand, and he's basing it on some notes from Rian Johnson as it was, so he might get a story credit or something maybe less attainable than a screenwriter credit or a written by credit. But news is Colin Trevorrow is out for Star Wars Episode 9, still as of no title yet. It will follow up The Last Jedi, which comes out this December, directed and written by Rian Johnson, who has been rumored to be up for it as well, but he's in post on Last Jedi. We're not sure if he's going to have it in him to do the sequel. J.J. Abrams has come up. This is the fourth time that another director has.
I'm going to put something out there as well. And I will have to apologize in advance to the company that you work for, Tiny Titan Studios, but I want to put out there that, to the studio and Kathleen Kennedy, that Rob McCallum might be actually a good, someone that could fill those roles, the role admirably, the shoes of the director for the next Star Wars 9. Just saying.
We'll get to that, Gerald. We'll get to that. So we've seen so far Tony Gilroy take over for Gareth Edwards on the massive reshoots of Rogue One. We saw Chris Miller and Phil Lord get ousted from Han Solo and be replaced by Ron Howard. We've seen Josh Trank get booted off an unnamed Star Wars anthology film. And now we're seeing Colin Trevorrow, who, of course, helmed Jurassic World to $1.6 billion at the box office, taken out of Episode 9. Now, a lot of, from what I understand, is creative differences. They couldn't manage the relationship. There was script woes with his contribution, hence bringing on this other collaboration partner. Comes down to the big question. The big question, my friend, that I see as I read between the headlines here. What does it take to be a director on a Star Wars film?
To be more of a yes person, whether it's, something as far as, one of the offshoot films or one of the direct line films, you have to be able to be very agreeable and be very amenable to whatever Lucasfilm wants and as a directive, and obviously ultimately Disney as well, because they're the ones that are playing ball with this hallowed and beloved universe, and they don't want to muck it up in any way possible. And if any director comes in there with their own kind of ideas that may be maybe a little bit out of the box, or maybe maybe stray a little bit too far from where they want, then obviously it's not going to fly with definitely Kathleen Kennedy and the folks at Disney and Lucasfilm. And unfortunately, that's my opinion on it. But apparently that's the case, because anything deviating from the norm in the Star Wars universe seems to not go over very well with Lucasfilm.
Well, I mean, the big question, in response to that, Gerald, is how can you be a great director if you're a yes man or woman in that position? Because being a director, I know one or two things about it, requires you to have vision and an understanding of what the picture is, not just facilitating what a corporation wants to see to sell action figures and t-shirts and theme park tickets. You got to have a vision for what the story is, and you've got to be unrelenting to get it to where it needs to go.
I couldn't agree with you more, but if you're talking about the artistry part of the filmmaking experience, then that
is there any other?
Well, and in this case there might be, because the vision is definitely all from Lucasfilm. And you as a director, when you work on these Star Wars projects, are just helping to guide that vision. You're not having really, it looks like they're not really having much of a say or input within the realm of it. And it looks like you're just picking up the pieces, or in the case of Ron Howard, and being able to try and still assemble it together to satisfy what as you said, the corporate narrative wants.
Well, then I guess the question that I would have for Lucasfilm and Disney is, why are you hiring auteurs or directors that are known for having a precise vision, that attracted you to them because of their diligent, independent spirit and determination for what they see as a way to make a good film without compromise? Everybody that they've hired and let go has done it their way and had critical and independent success. They've hit the box office mark, whether it's the Lego Movie with Chris Miller and Phil Lord, whether it's Jurassic World and Colin Trevorrow. They've worked on those big films, and yet they both of those pairs have massive independent success as well, like Safety Not Guaranteed, which was a Sundance hit for Colin Trevorrow, which is what got Spielberg's attention. It was like a $5 million movie or something like that, and it was sci-fi. It was out of the box. It was about this guy who wanted to do time travel. And it was really clever. He worked within the confines there, but he got the film done the way he wanted to do it. And it was great. Josh Trank, even though it seems from the reports he wasn't easy to work with, he did some excellent filmmaking on, help me out here, that one with the superheroes. Come on, Gerald.
Not Fantastic Four.
No, there was the one before him that got him on the map. That was superhero related. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's it right there. Chronicle, yeah. So he did that all on his own. That was a breakout indie hit for him, which makes sense why they would try to give him Fantastic Four. And then that obviously went super south. But there was a lot of reasons why that went south too, outside of Trank. Again, there's a lot of people. Gareth Edwards, you have Monsters, which is a huge indie hit for him. Then he gets to do Godzilla, again another box office success that was proven stylistically. And then you oust him from reshoots on Rogue One. I don't know what Disney's doing here. It's like they try to get the fan base excited by bringing in these pop culture dynamos that have indie cred, that have proven themselves on a bigger level. And then when they don't agree with them, they replace them with somebody else who's, I don't know, a yes man, like you said, or somebody else who's just got more seasoned experience, just competent enough to get the job done after it's been done 75%. I don't know if it's a safe job to ever take a directing gig on a Star Wars film.
Unless you're someone like Steven Spielberg, who seems to have enough cachet where he can.
You know what? I don't think that he would take it, because I don't think he would want to be in a situation where it's volatile enough that they're firing directors at the rate that they're firing. When is the last time we've seen a franchise on any level overturn creative talent like this? Never. Mind you, we don't have many franchises on this level, but even the DC universe, if you kind of compare that stuff to what's going on in Star Wars.
And this is top talent too. This is top talent, high ranking talented directors. And for Star Wars Episode 9 to still be in limbo like this, basically what, a year out from production is still, it's not good. It's not a good sign at all.
You're right. These are all like A-list directors, all A-list people that have the box office dollars in the billions by their name, and they're being ousted. Something is going on there. I get it's always easier from a studio system perspective to say no than it is to say yes, because if something happens when you say yes, it's your butt that's on the line. You pick this person. Well, if they don't perform, then it's you, and you're the one that has to answer for it. And it's the domino effect that trickles down.
So I want to ask you,
fan base confidence has got to be shuddering at this point.
I agree, but let me ask you, like I said, director of Nintendo Quest, one of the best video game documentaries that's out there. Watch it today on Amazon Prime, or as you or Jay, I think, says all the time, play it in the background, please. But
on repeat.
What if that phone behind you rings and it is Kathleen Kennedy asking you for the gig? How would you approach that? What would be your concerns, and would you actually eventually say yes at trying to go ahead and helm this kind of obviously very important project?
Well, as you were in the process of explaining the guidelines for the scenario, the first and immediate thought I had, honestly, was I have to see the script. I would have to see the script first before I can make a decision. And to everybody out there, that sounds nuts, because if I'm being offered Star Wars, why wouldn't you just say yes? I don't want to get in over my head. I want to be able to read that script. I want to make sure I understand it. I want to make sure I can connect to it. I want to make sure I get it. Because if I don't get it, then I can't do a good job, and I'm going to be fired too, and I'll just be another footnote in the Star Wars kind of Wikipedia page. I don't need that. I can't do a good job unless I get it. And honestly, it sounds really strange because it's the fan guy in me wants to say, yeah, of course you're going to direct a Star Wars film. You'll figure it out. But the first thought was, I got to read the script to see what I'm in for. That's what it would come down to. And I think that would probably be a pretty fair request.
Yeah, and I don't blame you a bit, because if it's something that it's doomed to fail on your end, as far as, because you're going to ultimately get the heat for anything that goes wrong with it, or anything that you don't see that you see that you don't like. So I can understand from that perspective. And obviously, with being a director in the Star Wars universe being such a tenuous position, obviously if it was something that you were even interested in, then it would be very difficult to take it under those current circumstances.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's funny because, like I said, Colin Trevorrow's breakout film is Safety Not Guaranteed, and that kind of describes the feeling of anybody that's going to be in a director's chair on a Star Wars film. And hey, you know what? He's the first one in a Skywalker saga film to get booted. J.J. Abrams got Episode 7, Rian Johnson got Episode 8, and all the other hiring and firings are all anthology films. So I think to a degree fans aren't that concerned, because until Rogue One, we didn't really understand the scope of them, how they would impact the main storyline, how consequential. Would it be easy to brush them off as, oh, it's not a big deal if it didn't hit? Sure, it's Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars with a capital S. Now we're talking about something that has hit the Skywalker saga hard, smack dab, the last installment, maybe the most critical installment. And hey, do I got a point to Return of the Jedi with Richard Marquand, who, people say is probably the worst director of the original trilogy. Maybe it's not fair to him. George was also a little bit of a control freak there, coming in to try to shepherd him what's going on. Spielberg was supposed to replace him on doing that. Does Spielberg come back now, as you were suggesting, to close this chapter out like he was supposed to close Jedi?
I think he would be more amped if he were offered a 007 film, because I've read throughout history of his tenure that he's always wanted to direct a Bond film.
Well, the one guy that I know is dying to direct a Bond film is Quentin Tarantino. He's dying to do a Bond film. I don't know about Spielberg. I mean, I get why he wants to do Bond, was part of the reason why he did Indiana Jones and the Raiders Lost Ark. As a response to him not being able to do, I think it was like Octopussy, something like that. But I think that worked out pretty well for him too. So we'll see.
Indeed, it did. In fact, I watched it the other day, and when you're watching Raiders of the Lost Ark and you're watching 1 and 3, it's definitely so nice. And I do recommend, if anybody out there watches it, cheap plug, watch it on Amazon Prime, because it's funny, because while you're watching it, you can actually see all the facts, the goofs, the miscues, and certain information on the movie as it progresses. So that's kind of cool as well.
After you're done watching Nintendo Quest in the background, throw on Raiders of the Lost
No,
Ark
you have that on another window going.
Oh, okay, I got you. So there,
was it on a loop as well?
Yeah, well, you can just hit repeat, I guess. You can just refresh that browser window. Don't be afraid. Refresh that browser window.
Fair enough.
So that's point one on our weekly news roundup. Colin Trevorrow out for director of Star Wars Episode 9. Next, I kind of want to go to something similar to Amazon Prime. And, of course, this is Netflix. And the trailer dropped for Jerry Before Seinfeld. Now, this is one of two stand-up specials that Jerry Seinfeld has committed to for Netflix. He's quite the comic icon. He's been around for a long time. He's really getting back into the stand-up circuit. His most recent show, Comedian in Cars Getting Coffee, I think is on like 8 or 9 seasons or something ridiculous like that. It's basically
but it's also being moved over to Netflix. Is that correct?
To Netflix as well, including the early Crackle stuff. And that show, for everybody that doesn't know, is basically Seinfeld with a comedian from the industry, basically having an interview on wheels. So they drive around, they go get coffee, they talk, they go get more coffee, and that's the episode. It sounds dull, but it's hilarious. It's all pretty raw. It's funny as heck. If you like comedy, check it out. If you like trying to understand why comedy works, definitely check it out. If you want to see Seinfeld a little bit out of his element, a little bit more down to earth, but still himself, check it out. Now he comes to Netflix with 2 stand-up specials. The first one, Jerry Before Seinfeld, where he's performing in New York at the club where he got his start. The big question here, Gerald, is what are thoughts on Netflix being the new home for essentially stand-up comedy? What do you think about that? And does it feel like HBO used to feel back in the 80s? The big thing for comics was to get an HBO special. And then somewhere in the 90s, early 2000s, a Comedy Central special was kind of the thing. But now Netflix seems to be the place to go for stand-up comedy specials. Thoughts on this?
I think it's great that they have an avenue that they can go ahead and share their wares. Dave Chappelle, I believe, also as well has gotten a lot of play on the Netflix, and Amy Schumer as well. You know, I've seen because I've seen
Bill Burr has been there for a long time.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple. And I've seen a couple. Joe Coy, he's also as well on Netflix as well. He's
Jim Gaffigan, yeah.
These extremely funny comedians, and Netflix, I will give them credit. They are trying to find alternative ways to reach out to consumers on a regular basis. Are they making a profit? I don't know. You know, they're when they report their money each and every quarter, it doesn't seem like it's always in great shape, but you know, they are throwing out the cash out there to get these projects, to get these things like the comedians to do their specials. And hey, it's all gravy. You already sold out the house. This is just gravy beyond it. HBO used to do these type of things. You're right, with Eddie Murphy and so on, and then also as well Comedy Central. But with Netflix, like HBO in the past, you're able to go as raw, as NSFW, as uncensored as you want, because you're on Netflix, and that also appeals to the comedians as well. So it's definitely a great idea by Netflix to do this and to make it a home for basically a hotbed of both up-and-coming and traditional comedians to perform on that venture. And with Netflix, you know, we've talked about in past weeks on the Pop Culture Cosmos show and the PCC Multiverse how Disney leaving them eventually is going to affect the Netflix viewing experience, and it seems like this is one way that they're going to recoup that. I mean, their deal with Adam Sandler, as far as just their movies are concerned, horrible as many people think they are, have still garnered millions of views and have made Netflix a lot of happy customers through that venture. So that's been a great operation for them. And a lot of their other stuff aside, that they're just trying to basically throw darts at a dartboard, and you know, quite frankly, a lot of their stuff is hitting, and that's why a lot of people like Netflix, because they're able to go out and take risk and do things such as corner the market on comedians performing with their live shows.
Well, here's where my concern comes in. Okay, here's where my concern comes in. In the 80s, a comedy special was an event. Look at like Delirious, right? Or Eddie Murphy Raw. You mentioned Eddie Murphy is
Those are two of the best of all time.
Yeah, those were like films, right? Like,
yes.
like Landis like directed like the intro for one of them, or even look at like Richard Pryor stuff or George Carlin stuff, or even Jim Carrey stand-up special he did for HBO. Like these are like monumental pieces in stand-up comedy kind of performances. And now I feel like we're getting a ton of Netflix stuff, so it doesn't make it as an event. So you have to really push the name for it to kind of catch a headline. And here's the stat that I want you to remember, okay? And I heard this stat when Bill Burr released his special last January. He said, the special comes out, but don't worry, if you like stand-up comedy, you never have to leave Netflix, because every week on Netflix for the rest of the year, a new comedy special comes out.
I mean, well, that's what I was going to say. It's not
diluted?
Just
or is it not enough? Is it still special?
It does dilute it a little bit because of the fact I was going to say while you were talking there that I was thinking that it sounded more like a comedian of the month type deal, but now it's like you said, it's even further that it's a comedian of the week that they're highlighting for the comedians out there. And I did get to interact with them back in the early 2000s when I was working with individuals here in Vegas as far as comedy shows and whatnot. And you get to interact with these guys and gals, and you understand that they don't have always the greatest life. They're in, for many of them that are struggling and trying to do anything they can to go on the way up, they're in lousy hotel room after lousy hotel room, and their life is on the road, and they don't always have the best of accommodations and best of lifestyles as many would think. So when they do hit it big, they want to go ahead and monetize it, their fame and fortune, any way they can, because in some cases it takes a long time to get to that stature. So I can understand from a comedian point of view that it is definitely great that Netflix is highlighting week after week after week. But I can understand as a fan or as a viewer that, okay, it's just another comedy special. It's just another comedy special. But then again, comedians have their own different styles. Each comedian has their own different style, the ones that are successful, and the ones that are, they usually cater to a different segment of the audience. So if you're looking for a different type of comedy each and every time, Netflix will have at least a lot of choices to choose from. But I can understand what you're talking about and where you're coming from when you're talking about the waters getting diluted when it comes to comedy on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that if they're going to do that, they should probably market it as Comedian of the Week, really. And then you can make an event out of it, just like HBO made an event out of Sunday nights, right? Every Friday night, here's your new stand-up comedy special. Sit down with your lady or your buddies or whatever, have a few drinks, watch the special on Netflix, sit there and laugh out loud before you decide to go to the clubs or go to the bars, or while you're playing some tabletop or some video games, kitchen party, throw it on, have some fun. Next week, it's going to be this. I'll come over. Let's see if it's good. Instead, they're just kind of marketing the individual artist instead. And now for people to care, the name has to get bigger and bigger. So I think they're almost painting a trap for themselves with their kind of overzealous acquisitions.
Well, like I said, you got to look at it from both sides, and I'm trying to, but I definitely, as a viewer, I can understand it becoming saturated and a lot of viewers becoming apathetic and maybe missing good comedy with the influx of so many different performances. But from a comedian standpoint, it's also difficult to say, hey, I don't want to turn down that money, because it's not, these type of avenues and revenue streams don't come around very often in the marketplace. You talked about HBO, but as soon as that went away, maybe late night Comedy Central stuff, but that doesn't obviously pay as well. So when Netflix came around and started that up again, it's a nice revenue stream for the comedians, but definitely it could be something that a lot of fans could be very apathetic about very quickly.
Roku is a set-top box that a lot of people have to stream their contents. It's very similar to Apple TV or Android boxes or Google Chrome when you're Chromecasting from your computer. It was made most famous and probably got on the map because it was one of the first to carry Netflix as a separate app before Netflix got started embedded in PS3s and Xbox 360s and TVs themselves. Roku is now in the news because they're going to be seeking a $100 million public offering. My question to you, Gerald, is what is the future of these digital streaming box subscription channels, cable, and home internet? First of all, I should say that Roku, I believe, according to the article I read, lost 44 million last year in their private capital. Now they're asking for 100 million in a public offering. With public offering, usually that 100 million is in shares, and it can go up and down in value for the company. But when you're basically seeking for twice, the amount that you lost the year before with only a 15.4 million subscriber base, I wonder where that's going to come from. And the majority of their revenue comes from commercials that are placed within one of their 5,000 apps that they have that's on there. So what do you think about the future of digital streaming boxes such as Roku, Apple TV, and subscription channels in total? And I kind of relate that back to what is the future of cable and home and entertainment given the landscape today and what it was even like 3 to 4 years ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me ask you a question. You're a tech savvy guy. How long, to your knowledge, do you think, just a roundabout figure, have you understood and known about these type of devices being part of, I guess, our culture? 5, 6, 7, in some cases, almost up to 10 years now, correct?
I would say that Netflix was on my map in 2006 and 7 as a disc, like direct mailer. But yes. I didn't look at it as a streaming option until about 2009 or 2010.
But these devices, they've been out for quite some time. The technology itself, them, has gotten a little bit cheaper, but it's still pretty much standard technology that it uses, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the same kind of code-based structure. There's, like I said, essentially Android boxes that are running in Android OS or in there or Windows OS. And when you have gaming consoles like PlayStation 4 selling 65 million units worldwide, plus Xbox, plus Switch, plus the last generation of PS3s and Xbox 360s also containing these apps, and smart TVs with apps being built into them, our phones being able to stream from your phone to your TV, connecting your TV to your computer. It seems like there's no shortage of ways to watch stuff on the big screen than ever before. So I don't feel like the future is where these boxes are, and I don't know that I would be backing a $100 million offering on something like Roku unless there was something of a game changer with that. And hey, I'm a really big Apple fan. I have the whole Apple ecosystem from iMacs to an older iPad. I have an iPhone, and I was forever holding off on Apple TV, and the thing that sold me was standalone HBO. For $15 a month, I didn't need a cable package, and I could get HBO, and then still, get some of their free services as well, and piggyback off my iTunes account, which what I had ordered there, plus some of the games. But really, HBO pushed me to that.
And as we say this, my wife is actually streaming Game of Thrones right now off the Xbox One. So, but I will tell you this right now. That's what I was trying to infer to when I was asking you those questions, is because the technology itself that these sticks provide is becoming quickly outdated, and there's so many more devices out there that can do the same thing, that's more multifunctional, that is more palatable to a large audience, that something like Roku is going to become a thing of the past very quickly. I mean, you and I, when we have gone to CES before, and I remember the year that Android gaming consoles was all the rage, and it was just so amazing. There was like 20 to 30 different kinds of models of Android gaming consoles that were out there, and everybody was going, ooh. And then a year later, they were all but gone, because the trends in technology change so quickly, and that if you have something that people see as outdated, they will just drop it like a bad habit. Roku is something that, it's not the leader in the industry, and it's just another name that's out there. So I would not invest in that type of companies unless they have something down the road that they're going to introduce that's going to be a whole lot better than what they have, and that's going to be a whole lot better than what's out there today.
I agree. I just don't see a game breaker in terms of what this is supposed to do that doesn't already happen out there. I don't know where the money comes from. I don't know where it consolidates. I think in terms of subscription apps and the future of cable and home entertainment, everybody is breaking off for their own different digital service. We have Netflix already. We have Amazon. Disney's doing their own thing. CBS is doing their own thing. DC Direct is doing their own thing. Warner Brothers is going to have their own thing, which they kind of do already with HBO as a subsidiary. The next thing is going to come along where it basically bundles all these things together, which Apple TV kind of does already. They have a TV feature that when you're watching it, it kind of picks like all the things that you've recently been watching from all the different apps and then kind of organizes it for you that way, which is essentially cable TV again. But you're paying for every individual brand now because we're such a brand-driven society, because we're super fans of everything that's a niche that we'll never buy anything that's broad because we feel like we're paying for something we don't love. So then we pony up for the stuff that we do love and we have to pay extra for it. So they got us coming and going. They really do.
Bet, obviously they should just have a Nintendo Quest channel to just 24/7 live stream Nintendo Quest channel, and that should be it.
That would probably save a lot of problems and a lot of headaches. Just
or a Rob McCallum Films, marathon right there for you.
There you go. Well, my good friend Patrick Scott Patterson just started his own Twitch channel, and he's on a goal to have 24/7 streaming. So he's looking for 24 hours of content based on all the stuff that he's done. So soon, I think you will see basically everything kind of come full circle from him there, so to speak, if that makes sense. You'll basically get to see 24/7 PSP live, including a bunch of Nintendo Quest stuff. So
there you go indeed. So can't wait for it.
Major League 3. There was a meetup at the actual Field of Dreams. I don't know if you caught this piece of news, Gerald. Did you see this?
Yes, I did. It's just so fun. Anything relating to Charlie Sheen these days is quite hilarious.
It was Charlie Sheen and Tom Bergeron and Corbin Bernstein, I think it was.
Tom Berenger.
Tom Berenger, that's right, and Corbin Bernstein. So they met up for an autograph session at the actual Field of Dreams field from the Kevin Costner movie. And Charlie Sheen wants to have Major League 3 film come out and whatnot. What is sacred, Gerald? What is sacred and what isn't?
Well, I can tell you right now that Charlie Sheen's career since his fall from grace with 2.5 Men is epic proportions here, and he recently got a lot of flack for the what many deemed tasteless 9/11 film that he was part of. And there's just so many things he's not doing right these days. A Major League 3, I don't think will ever happen because Hollywood just doesn't consider him just to be a bankable star in any shape or form. And I would see it as a losing proposition all the way. I know as a director, I don't think you would touch it as well, correct?
I would take this on as a director. This is something where
really,
I don't even know that I would need to see the script for Major League 3. I love Major League 1 so much that I would take this on, and I would be able to get excited about it a lot.
The man who would have apprehensions for Star Wars Episode 9 would take on Major League 3 in a heartbeat.
Well,
wow.
I think the stakes are a bit lower for Major League 3, no offense, than Star Wars Episode 9. So I feel a little bit comfier there, if you know what I'm saying.
But the paycheck would be nicer.
Well, would it? I don't know. There's a lot of greedy paws out there for the old corporate handouts there in Disney.
I would say the paycheck would be nicer.
I don't know, but the prestige of Major League 3. Come on now.
That's a VOD waiting to happen, my friend.
Well, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm comfortable with a VOD waiting to happen.
Well, all I can say is this. I interacted with Charlie Sheen many, many years ago, along with him and Nicolas Cage when they were very young and they were very rambunctious, and they and their posse and their group that was with them, whatever you want to say, were really just a rambunctious crew. And I tell you what, it looks like throughout his entire life things have not changed for Charlie Sheen, and even in his old age, he's still trying to do whatever he can to recapture some of that glory. So if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. I just don't see a studio, putting much money behind it, or at least keeping it on a minimum, unless somebody does like what a Super Troopers 2 did and doing a Kickstarter campaign for it.
Yeah, well, you never know. They could No, they probably will not do a Kickstarter for Major League 3. That probably just won't
Hey,
happen.
they did one for Super Troopers 2.
Well, I think there's a bit bigger of a following for those guys than there is for Major League 3. But who knows? Maybe Charlie Sheen can help make it a winning campaign.
I don't know.
They can give away vials of tiger blood? No? Too soon? Too late?
Wow.
Moving on, Will and Grace get the green light. After last year, they did a political scene that caught fire and really went viral. Now, Will and Grace is a sitcom from the early 2000s, and now it was picked up straight to order, full season. This is really, I don't want to say unprecedented, because we've seen a lot of...
Because you see Roseanne doing the same thing.
Roseanne is doing the same thing, of course, and we've seen other comedies get spin-offs and find other lives on other network, like the Mindy Project and Community, getting basically ordered on Yahoo, and Hulu getting different orders. So, like, sitcoms stay alive. I mean, look at Family Guy. That went away for a while, and then that came back. What other sitcom should come back? And, like, what made Will and Grace is, like, the most unlikely, like, uphill battle that... To me, that seems like a really strange choice for that, and yet it worked.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think of these revivals, because you and I both remember that, yes, Community did come to Yahoo, but it died very quickly, and it did not get the response that Yahoo liked. I will say that of the two, that are coming out, Roseanne and Will and Grace, I would probably say, I can't believe I'm saying this, knowing Roseanne being a cornerstone of 80s and 90s culture, I'm going to say Will and Grace is more modern feeling. Maybe millennials will adapt to it more, and maybe they'll keep the ratings at a point where it will be palpable for NBC. I don't see Roseanne staying on there long, even with John Goodman coming back, somehow being resurrected from the dead. I just feel
I thought he was off. No,
I think he's being resurrected from the dead. I even though his character was killed off in the original series, I heard he is coming back for that. So I don't know. I would Will and Grace. I mean, if they're able to, go ahead and well, see, the thing is that what brought them to light as the political stance that they took during those promos that they did. So they can't. I don't know if they are or let me ask you this: would you keep that type of political stance that they took in those promos into a show that's meant for a wider range and a wider audience?
I think they're going to be hinting at it probably throughout the course in some sort of overarching season story. I think they really will, because I think that's what got them the green light. And now it probably won't be as on the nose as it is there, but I really think that it's gonna come to fruition in that style. I think they'd be silly not to. I think Roseanne's going to connect better than you realize. I think there's a lot of stuff to parallel with where we are now with Republicans in power, like we were in the 80s, and that kind of blindheartedness push towards commercialism that we had back then is echoed again now. So I think you're going to get the blue collar kind of response that we had from Roseanne back then, which is also hails from Cosby Show creators, right? Which was the complete opposite of Roseanne. Roseanne actually had a series before in the works, and then the Cosby Show got picked up and greenlit first, and that nobody would watch an affluent, African American family, and they pitched it and they sold it, and then they said, well, let's do the complete opposite, and that worked. Let's see if that works, and that's where the Roseanne pitch came back and got them greenlit. So I think you're gonna find that Roseanne is actually a bigger hit than you expect. And there's 3 or 4 generations of people that don't know Roseanne Barr, or I guess it's just Roseanne now. And then you're gonna find people that still remember her, that have kids now that can relate. So you'll have that generational thing again.
Well, I'm going to be talking to the TVRatingsGuide.com people next week, and they can give me maybe a little closer look at what they're projecting the ratings out for both shows to be. But I'm fearing one thing more than either of those two shows hitting or not hitting with the general audience, and that if they do hit either one of those shows or both, we're going to see an influx of a lot more shows from those eras being brought back to television, whether we like it or not. Agree, disagree?
I think anything is always up for grabs. Anything is always up for grabs. If a Money investment firm from the UK can make He-Man and Skeletor relevant again by parodying Dirty Dancing from the 80s, then I think anything is possible.
Well, NBC has also already said that they're thinking about revivals for Office and 30 Rock. So
that I did hear too. I don't know that Tina Fey is super interested in a return, and I don't know who they would get to do The Office if they would just center on a different Office with different cast of characters, if that would be enough. I literally just finished watching The Office for a second run through for me. I can see why it got old fast. I don't know that they have the writing talent that they would need to do it. Mindy Kaling is one of the greater writers on the show, same with BJ Novak. They've both got other important things going on. The Mindy Project was far underrated. It should have got more attention. I'm glad she's back this season as well with something else.
Like I said, I'm afraid that what's old will become new again in mass, and as we've seen it with movies, I think that's going to probably take place if those two become a big hit. You're going to see a lot of those revivals being pushed on us, and sprinkled in is okay, but when you push a mass influx on us, that's going to be where a lot of people are going to revolt with turning off their remotes. And I just, if those two shows do hit, I think you're going to see definitely a lot more of that coming on its way.
More Star Wars news. As Star Wars Rebels Season 4 releases its trailer, and it is fourth and final season.
Because Disney always ends everything in 4.
Something like that, especially trilogies. How many more series are we going to get out there, Gerald, that must connect back to the main saga when it comes to Star Wars?
Well, Disney will keep on doing it as long as it correlates to whatever it is, like you said, within the Star Wars universe. But with all their series, and actually my daughters were the ones to bring me up to speed on this, Disney always ends its series after 4 seasons. So definitely seeing that take place is not surprising. What they're going to do
You know
next,
why that is, right?
No, actually, they didn't tell me that part.
Well, usually, I'll see if I can find it. I got iTunes in front of me because I was kind of curious about this. But go on, and if I finish your point, I'll see if I can confirm what my thought is. Go.
Well, I will say this, that this one is the more disappointing endings, because I still thought the series has a lot of life left. Plus, Admiral Thrawn as a character, he has obviously ignited a lot of fans' interest as far as seeing him continue within the Star Wars universe.
Okay, so usually why they end after 4 seasons, and I just confirmed by looking up on iTunes season 3 and 2 and 1 of Star Wars Rebels, is because usually when they have 80, usually the magic number used to be 100 episodes, but you can get away with 80 to 88. When you have that many, it's a syndication package deal. Yeah. Meaning you can sell the whole series to places like Netflix. They won't have to now because they can keep it for their own streaming services, but they can put it on broadcast on Disney XD as a complete run, knowing that one episode can play every day for more than a year in a month or so, and they'll have a refresh every time. So that's why like 4 seasons is the magic number from a broadcast point of view.
Yeah, I remember 100 used to being the magic number, but yeah, I started hearing and picking up. I know one of the things with Elementary on CBS, that is a not very highly rated show, but it's one of my favorites. But I know
I like it as well.
The reason why it was retained was because it has such a sweet syndication deal that's out there already, and it did hit that magic number of 80 episodes, which caused it to go in that extra profitable realm. So definitely I can understand why that Disney cuts everything off then for 4 years, but you've got so many interesting characters within that universe. I'm just hoping that they'll be packaged somewhere down the line and put in a different format in another part of the Star Wars universe.
Well, what I wish is that they would just tell a Star Wars story, branded as Star Wars, have it within the universe. Just don't tell us kind of when it is, and let that kind of be the guess. Let the fans figure out the mystery of when it takes place, how does it relate, and just keep dropping these clues until like that final season. So for the first 66 episodes or whatever it is, 60 episodes, really play with us and let us just focus on the storyline instead of letting the fan boys and girls out there try to connect this to the Skywalker storyline and where does this fit in and how do I have to frame my understanding. Because when we're told this happens before A New Hope, but after Revenge of the Sith, then we instantly compartmentalize what is possible. And when we know what is possible, it restricts storytelling. So like eliminate those barriers and just put it out there. Let it happen on the other side of the Outer Rim concurrently with what's going on with Luke Skywalker. And like, tell me what's going on in the rest of the universe as they hear about this stuff that's coming across the galaxy. I think that would be a good take on it. And because it's, what's the ripple effect of the Skywalkers at that point? But again, play it out. Don't kind of tell us everything up front. Let us guess. Let us do a little bit of work on our side.
Well, I know that is going to be still a great season for Star Wars Rebels, and starts, I believe, October 13th. Is that correct?
I believe so. Something like that. Early October is what I got on my notes.
So definitely looking forward to that, indeed. And yeah, it will be sad to see many of the characters go, but I want to know what they want to do, because with Admiral, because he has become just a major part and a major force of Star Wars Rebels, and he's become very popular on his own. They've, obviously comic books have been done after him, and there's talk about him actually being put somewhere else in the Star Wars universe, correct?
Yeah, I mean, he was what they called the legacy character because he was part of the pre-canon approval of Disney, and then he was brought back kind of almost as he was envisioned before and put into Rebels as almost like a fan favorite. And now he's back, almost kind of like getting another chance at another kick at the can. So it'd be nice to see these characters seated in there. I know in the trailer for season 4 they mentioned Krennic from Rogue One, which is really cool. So we're going to see some Rogue One tie-ins. I just really wish we'd get a storyline that was separate from everything that we've seen in film, so that it has a chance to stand on its own and let fans just kind of enjoy it for what it is, instead of compartmentalizing the mythos and lore around everything that we already have seen.
I don't think you're ever going to be able to get that, because at least those in the know and in the power within the Lucasfilm realm love connecting the dots to the well-known parts of the Star Wars universe.
Well, a fan can always hope and wish. Fan can always hope and wish. Last bit of news I got for you, Gerald, today on our pop culture news roundup is Box Art, a gaming docu-series, if I will, released the first clip on the weekend. Now, this was a bit of a tease, a little bit of a promo that premiered last year at PAX 2016, and in honor of PAX again, the director, I suppose, thought it would be cool to finally unveil a little bit of footage for what fans can expect to see in this upcoming docuseries on video game art and cover artists and the stories behind the covers. Did you get a chance to check this out?
I did indeed, and the reactions to some of the the covers that PSP was showing to individuals there were very amusing.
We'll set up the clip for people that didn't get a chance to see it. And if you haven't seen it, you can go to facebook.com/boxartdoc, D-O-C, and check it out for yourself. But give them a little taste of what the clip sets up.
Well, basically, they're at E3 2016, and while the line is waiting, I'm assuming, to actually enter into E3 2016. It's usually people wait in droves for at least an hour and a half. Patrick Scott Patterson got a chance to interview several people and show them different boxes, different box arts from various video games throughout the timeline of video games, and just the different reactions from individuals, both young and a little bit older, were varied on what they liked and, well, what they didn't like about the various pictures that were shown from the different box arts from the past. Did you have a game cover that elicited your favorite reactions, or a moment or a soundbite that caught your attention? I just think the young lady that PSP interviewed, her reactions were very enlightening and very noble as far as what she was thinking when she was showing them, and just her reactions to know that, because she's on the younger side, she's not as familiar with those games of the past, whatnot, but bless her heart, she still was giving PSP some honest opinions about it. Some of the ones, I think there was a couple of gentlemen out there. In fact, there's one that said he would not. One of them was no matter under any circumstances, he would not have this as a poster in his room. Correct? Yeah, he was talking about Castlevania. He thought Dracula would haunt his nightmares. And then he pleaded the fifth. I'm thinking to myself, this is just an '80s box art, but okay, whatever rocks your boat.
Well, I mean, that's just it. So, I mean, if you want to check out the clip for yourself, head to facebook.com/boxartdoc, BOXARTDOC, and check it out for yourself. I will hopefully get a trailer out soon. I'm going to be looking at cobbling some clips together over the next couple of weeks so you can get a more accurate look at what it was like to sit down with some of these artists behind the covers that really shaped gaming history and the stories that emerged from doing so. This was a really safe clip to kind of release because it's more about reactions, and as game players and as game consumers and customers, we all have a reaction to what that cover art is like, and this was kind of just something on par with that. So a proper trailer and release will be coming out soon, but I want to thank everybody who did check out the clip that I released. It's been a pleasure to direct this series and work on it in post, and I can't wait to share more with you guys.
And congratulations to a couple of the producers that were part of it as well.
Yeah, Doug and Nicole, producers on Box Art, are now engaged thanks to a nice little proposal by Mr. Doug himself at Disneyland. So congratulations to my cohorts there. I've been grinding Doug's gears about popping that question to Nicole, and finally he stepped up and got down on the one knee, and he made her happen, and she said yes. So that's some good news all around.
And in the Magic Kingdom, no doubt. That was a great way to do it as well.
Indeed, indeed. So that'll do it for another news roundup for the Pop Culture Cosmos and everything that goes tickety-boo in the world of pop culture and the surrounding cosmic spheres of things that we like. Gerald, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks, Rob, again for bringing that up to speed on all the different pop culture news. If you get a chance, check us out, Pop Culture Cosmos, on Facebook and Twitter, because you will get the latest pop culture news put right there on the news feed, along with also all the information on our podcasts from Pop Culture Cosmos, including the Pop Culture Cosmos Show, the PCC Multiverse, and all the great stuff from Humanican Media and Inside Sports, the Attack of the Humanigans, the Super BS Gamescast, Topicocalypse, What About This?, Guardians of the Geek, and all the other stuff he's doing. That's also on there as well, so that'll keep you all updated. And plus, also a lot of Rob McCallum film stuff gets shared on there as well, so you can keep up to date with everything going on in Rob McCallum's world. And Tiny Rails as well. Check out Tiny Rails where?
On Steam is the best place to check it out. It's only on there for $9.99 in early access. We got a major update coming out right now that includes some station building mechanics. So you're going to be asked and tasked to build new train stations as you explore the wild jungles and the exciting story of South America that has you track down the cursed mask of El Dorado on your 8-bit glorious pixel aesthetic train. And if Steam is not a good fit for you, then we do have a mobile offering on Android and iOS devices too.
And I heard also as well, Tiny Titan Studios is looking for some really good people as well, correct? For testers in the London, Ontario area?
We're looking for people for almost every position that you can think of, but we do have a local requirement, so you can work with us in studio and join our growing team. If you want to basically seek us out on Facebook and Twitter, you can. You can go to tinytitanstudios.com/careers, and you can see all our openings there, and send us your portfolio if you think you're a good fit for us, be it coder, be it designer, artist. We are looking for good folks, and if you think you've got what it takes and can live in London, Ontario, Canada, to our southwest of Toronto, Ontario, we'd love to take a look at your stuff and consider you for one of the positions.
Plus, you would be able to work with the project lead himself, Rob McCallum.
Well, I mean, I will say this.
Can it get any better than that?
I am still associated with Tiny Rails. We've had a little switch again, and I've been tasked with working on 2 secret projects now, early in the pre-production and development phase. So while creative director, project director is still kind of a technical thing, I am stepping back a little bit from Tiny Rails and kind of going forward so I can focus on more writing stuff for 2 projects that have yet to be announced.
Are we calling them Project Scorpio and Project Revolution?
We can do that. Let me just write down which is which, and that way I know how to refer to them. Okay.
That would have been great if Scorpio's coming out as a day 1 edition for the Xbox One X, correct?
Yes.
It wouldn't have been great if Revolution had actually come out for a day 1 edition of the Nintendo Wii. Wouldn't that have been? Yeah, because I love that name. I thought that would
like been... Eagle the Dolphin when it came out for the GameCube.
Exactly. But some of these secret project names are actually better than the actual names they actually.
I like Revolution. I like that one a lot still.
But I digress. But definitely some great opportunities indeed. So check out what, like you said, Tiny Titan Studios on Facebook.
Yeah, on Twitter or tinytitanstudios.com/careers.
Awesome indeed. Awesome indeed. It's been a great pleasure having you on, my friend. I'm hoping we can do this as much as your schedule allows. I always like to being, going back and forth because I want to tell everyone again, he hits me with this stuff unprepared. So it's definitely great with this pop culture talk right off the fly. And it's instead of having always a prepared, like we do with the Pop Culture Cosmos show and also the PCC Multiverse. It's always nice every now and then that we just shoot the breeze on what's going on in pop culture.
That's the way it flows at us, and that's the way we should respond.
Now, I have a question for you.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. You again, as a host, just obviously another great job again to this time. What if ever a reunion happens? Speaking of reunions that we talked about before, with the guys from GamerCast.
I don't know. I mean, I see Mr. Stanway every day, of course, as he is a collaborator at Tiny Titan Studios, and I did see Mr. Jay Bartlett on the weekend. There's just a lot of stuff going on these days, and I don't know when the Broncos can get together in the old rodeo pen, if they can ever find a way to sit down and talk games again. If there's still something there, if we've kind of said what we need to say, or just kind of where it sits. I mean, if the reason is right, then we'll find a way to make it happen. We'll see.
I hope so one day, because as a fan of the GamerCast, it was truly a great podcast indeed. I'm hoping for a return someday back to podcasting land for you guys indeed. But until then,
you're stuck with me.
That's my benefit. That's to my benefit and our listeners as well. So
you're stuck with me on the Pop Culture Cosmos.
I wasn't going to do it, but okay. Thanks again to everyone for listening. Again, this is Rob McCallum from Rob McCallum Films and Tiny Titan Studios. It's been a great pleasure having you host this segment of the Pop News Roundup. It was truly appreciate always you being a part of the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Yes, I finally got you to do it properly.